What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another view. This time we're taking a look at Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. 50 years later, this movie still holds up. I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This movie and The Wizard of Oz were two of the big main movies that I used to watch back to back. Mainly because to me, Willy Wonka and The Wizard of Oz, they have a very similar feeling. They have that feeling of wonderment, of magic, of going to these mystical, majestical places that are outside reality. And you have these colorful personalities that you just latch onto. And Willy Wonka to me is pretty much to me is a more modernized version of the Wizard of Oz. That is helmed, that is led by the legendary genius that is Gene Wilder, who I will talk about last because Gene Wilder is Willy Wonka. What can you say that nothing said? He's fantastic. But like I said, this movie has that sense of wonderment, that sense of mystery, but also that sense of just going into a place that is outside of reality. Brilliant. Not only that, the story behind Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is actually really simple as well. You know, Willy Wonka sends out these five golden tickets, and the five lucky contestants who find those tickets get a chance to go to his factory with the chance of getting a grand prize, which is a lifetime supply of chocolate. And now, of course, that is not the real grand prize. As we get to the end of the movie, we find out what the prize really, really is. But that whole MacGuffin and that whole setup is fantastic. And one of the things that I thought was really good about this movie is just how crazy people legitimately went knowing that Willy Wonka was opening up his gates and just the mayhem and the bedlam that was going on. Outstanding. I thought Mel Stewart, the director, captured that just craziness of the world to a T. With that being said, I think the child actors who play the roles of Charlie, Violet, Veruca, Augustus Gloop, and Mike TV, for child actors in 1971, I thought they all did really good jobs. They all felt real, they felt grounded, and they just felt like kids. They didn't feel like actors trying to play these characters. They actually felt like children who are in this, who are in this world of wonderment. You know, they all want to get a golden ticket. What Charlie who wants it the most, because out of all these personalities, Charlie is the one that we latch onto. You know, he comes from a poor family. You know, his mom is widowed and his grandparents are living with them. They live in a shack pretty much. So Charlie, out of all the kids, he's the one who wants it more because he's the one who does the good thing. He helps take care of his family, and he feels like he should be rewarded for it. And when you get to the middle of the movie where you find out that a last golden ticket was found, it's heartbreaking seeing Charlie not have a dream for himself come true. Like the kid's always getting the raw end of the stick. Of course, 5 minutes later, it's revealed that the person who found said ticket just made the whole thing up, and that gave Charlie a sense of hope again. And that scene where he finally finds the golden ticket is such a great scene. It's so beautifully done, so beautifully acted on Peter Ostrom's part, who played Charlie Bucket. Yeah, I can't say enough about Peter Ostrom as Charlie Bucket. He really made Charlie a very likable and enjoyable character. And the character of Charlie, he can be very easy to just dismiss because he doesn't really have an outgoing personality like a Violet or a Veruca or a Mike TV, who are more like in-your-face characters. Mike TV's whole gimmick is that he's obsessed with television. Veruca is this needy brat who wants the world, who wants everything, and Violet is just a gum chewer. And you got Charlie, who is none of those things. He's just a grounded, ordinary kid, and it's great. It's good stuff. I like the interactions between the kids. We get to see their personalities bounce off one another. I think that stuff was really well done. The relationship between Charlie and Grandpa Joe is outstanding. I love Albert. I can't remember what the actor's name was. Jack Albertson, who played Grandpa Joe. I thought he and Ostrom had a great chemistry. I totally buy them as being grandson and grandfather. Their relationship is so real and just so heartwarming. And Grandpa Joe, he also has his moments where he acts like a little kid again when Charlie finds the golden ticket and he gets out of bed and starts singing and dancing. It's good stuff. Very heartwarming, good stuff. The overall look of this movie, I enjoyed it a lot. When we're in like the world, like the real world, so to speak, everything feels real, feels grounded. But once we get to the chocolate factory, it's basically like Oz, like Oz. You get this sense of wonderment, this sense of just surrealism, The fact that everything in the factory is edible, eatable. It's good stuff. And the overall look of all the different rooms in the factory, they all have their own distinct look. Like the actually like the main like the main room with the chocolate waterfall. Great stuff. The room with the geese, the inventing room, uh, fantastic. And of course the infamous boat ride scene in this movie, which is just a psychedelic horror trip that comes completely out of nowhere, but it's so damn good. And Gene Wilder's performance in that boat ride scene is outstanding. Alright, speaking of which, let's just talk about Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, you couldn't have gotten a better guy than Gene Wilder to play the character of Willy Wonka. He is Willy Wonka. He gave Willy Wonka that sense of just energy to him, that sense of just mystique to him. Not only that, the first time we see Willy Wonka, the man has a cane, limping, having trouble walking. All of a sudden, he does a somersault and he ends up being okay. And that entire introduction to Willy was all Gene Wilder's idea, because his idea was the intent of the second people see Willy limping and then see him acting normal, from that moment on, whatever he says or does, we're going to have to take it with a grain of salt, because we're never going to know if he's telling the truth or if he's not telling the truth. Brilliant, brilliant on Gene Wilder's part. Sheer brilliance. I cannot praise this man enough in the role of Willy Wonka. He knew exactly how to make this character memorable. He knew exactly the right nuances and the right delivery of certain lines to give the character of Willy Wonka. And listen, Willy Wonka has a lot of quotable lines in this movie, like when Augustus Gloop falls in the chocolate river, and Augustus's mother is trying to say, "Help my son, help my son." He's like, "Help, police, murder." Awesome. When Mike TV gets stuck in the TV, he's trying to stop, and he's like, "Stop, don't come back." Gene Wilder's delivery of certain lines is fantastic, and the whole boat ride scene where he just goes into just this psychedelic maniac type personality, creepy but so much fun. And like I said, it's just so psychedelic and hellish, and I love it. And of course, how can I forget the Oompa Loompas, the little orange men with the green hair who sing their songs all throughout the movie. Iconic, great stuff. I love it. But one of the things I do love about this movie is also the relationship that Charlie and Willie do form with one another. Pretty much throughout the entire movie, there's this little subplot of a guy named Slugworth who is trying to persuade the kids to give him an everlasting gobstopper, so that way he can pretty much put Willie out of business. It's revealed that the guy playing Slugworth was actually working for Willie as like an agent to try and test the morality of the children. So one thing leads to another. Charlie's the last kid, but because he and Grandpa Joe drank fizzy lifting drinks, they broke the rules of the factory. And that's where Willie has the infamous scene where he snaps at Charlie and Grandpa Joe, and that's the scene where Charlie, who could have easily taken the gobstopper as a F you to Willie, showed that he has compassion. He put the gobstopper on the table, and that was the real test. The real test of the golden tickets was to find somebody who was morally capable of being able to handle the factory and take over when he's no longer around. And that's when Charlie and Willie, and the movie kind of subtly teased a little bit of a relationship with Willie and Charlie. Like when we first see Charlie and Willie interact, Charlie's like, "I read about you on the paper. I'm so proud of you." So it's like, I like all that stuff. And the scene where Charlie and Willie share that hug in the Wonka Vader, beautiful scene. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I cannot praise Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory enough. 50 years later, this movie is still brilliant. It still has that sense of wonderment and enjoyment. The practical effects are outstanding. The cast works for me, and the story is just so timeless and just so relatable and makes you feel like a kid again. So yeah, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a 10 out of 10 for me. I love this movie. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.